Sector 12 is a perimeter town, one of many designated buffer zones built to stand between a hidden wilderness of anomalies and the rest of the world. Its citizens have no political rights and live under a shadow government they never see, managed from afar by an unfeeling administrative hub called Aethel. On a sweltering late summer afternoon, this isolation feels like nothing more than a quiet day at home. 12-year-old Clement has been left in charge while his mother picks up his older brother from soccer practice. His only responsibility is to watch over his 4-year-old sister. To escape the stifling humidity, Clement heads out to the backyard pool, while his sister stays inside to color. The air is thick with the rhythmic, mechanical droning of cicadas in the trees, and the sound of wind pushing through heavy oak leaves. For those first 10 minutes, the safety of the neighborhood feels absolute. The sun is high, the summer sounds are constant, and the boundary between the yard and the dark tree line seems secure. Clement dives down to the bottom of the pool, touches the drain, and kicks back to the surface. When he breaks the water, the world is gone. The cicadas haven't just faded, they have stopped mid-chirp. The wind has vanished, leaving the leaves dead and still. The silence is so sudden it creates a heavy, physical pressure in Clement's ears. It feels as though the very air has been sucked out of the yard, leaving a vacuum where sound simply cannot travel. Then, the vacuum is violated. From the side of the house comes a slow, deliberate crunch of gravel. It is the rhythm of something walking on 2 legs, but the impact is far too heavy to be a person. 3 heavy, rhythmic knocks echo from the solid wood of the kitchen door. Clement sinks until only his eyes are above the water. He realizes the thing on the gravel didn't just wander out of the woods. It had been watching from the tree line, waiting specifically for his mother to drive away before it approached the house. The entity stalking the perimeter isn't a mindless animal. It is a patient predator, and it knows exactly who is left alone inside. Moving with agonizing slowness to avoid making a splash, Clement pulls himself out of the pool. He creeps along the brick wall and hoists himself through an open bedroom window, sliding the frame shut and engaging the lock with a quiet click. Inside, his 4-year-old sister is still lying on the rug, surrounded by crayons. She is the picture of happy, oblivious play, kicking her feet in the air and humming a bouncy cartoon tune. Clement sits against the wall beneath the bay window, trying to convince himself the footsteps were a prank. Then, the humming stops. His sister lets out a sharp, choked gasp, her face turning ghost pale as she stares at the glass directly behind his head. She whispers, "Clemmy, don't look behind you." Clement turns. Staring through the pane is a hulking, hairless silhouette with sickly pale skin and reflective eyes that shine like a nocturnal predator's. Its mouth is pulled back into a massive, ear-to-ear smile, exposing dozens of huge, overlapping teeth arranged in jagged rows. The creature raises a massive hand and presses it against the center of the glass. The pane bows inward before violently exploding into the living room. As the glass rains down, Clement sees the creature's fingers. They are coated in a thick, jagged layer of hard white bone. The house is no longer a barrier. Clement scoops up his sister and sprints for the front door, fleeing toward the only thing left, the freezing storm breaking outside. He bursts out into a violent, freezing downpour. The rain is ice-cold and blinding, and Clement is still only wearing his dripping swim trunks as he sprints down the driveway, the gravel tearing at his bare feet. He darts across the street to a deep drainage ditch and slides down the muddy embankment. He drags his sister backward into a narrow concrete cart, forcing them both into the freezing mud until the darkness swallows them. For 2 hours, they huddle in the pipe. Above them, Clement hears the creature lope across the wet asphalt on all fours. He can hear its wet, heavy, ragged breathing, an agonizing sound, like a starving animal pacing just inches from its prey. Just as the cold begins to blur Clement's mind, a pair of sweeping high beams cuts through the rain. His mother's SUV turns into the driveway. The sudden engine noise and mechanical light startle the creature, which drops low and vanishes into the tree line. When Clement is found, his skin is blue and his feet are bleeding. He is rushed to the town hospital with acute pneumonia, but his survival of the storm has only moved him into a different kind of danger. The hospital room feels like a fortress. It is brightly lit, smells of bleach, and the steady beeping of the heart monitor suggests that the monster in the woods was just a nightmare. That safety vanishes on Tuesday afternoon when orderlies wheel in a new patient named Aziz. He is heavily sedated and bruised. Clement listens as the doctors whisper about a violent tragedy. Aziz allegedly suffered a psychotic break, stabbed his mother, and jumped out a window to escape a monster. As the sedatives wear off, Aziz's heart monitor begins to spike. He wakes up in a state of primal terror, thrashing against his bed rails and shrieking that the smiling man is coming for him, a pale thing with teeth for hands. The medical staff sees a patient in the middle of a mental breakdown, but Clement sees a witness. He realizes Aziz isn't crazy, and that the hospital's walls offer no protection if the people inside don't even believe the threat exists. The chaos is silenced by a doctor in a pristine white coat. Her demeanor is cold and commanding. She doesn't flinch at the screaming. She simply declares Aziz an involuntary psychiatric hold and orders him transferred to the lower levels. As Aziz is dragged away, his screams fading down the hall, the doctor turns to Clement. Terrified and desperate for an adult to believe him, Clement confesses everything. He tells her Aziz is right, that he saw the same creature in his backyard. The doctor doesn't look shocked. She orders the nurses out and locks the door. She pulls up a chair, produces a prepared syringe, and calmly plunges a Class A amnesiac into Clement's IV line. The room warps and goes dark as his memory of the grinner is surgically excised. An encrypted Aethel observer log later confirms the truth. The government knows about the Homo rictus tenebris. They track these entities with remote surveillance, but they refuse to capture them. Instead, they treat the residents of perimeter towns as acceptable losses, test subjects used to gather data on the anomalies. This is the Ouroboros Paradox. Humanity is trapped between two forces: the ancient, supernatural hunger of the things in the woods, and the cold, ruthless bureaucracy of the people who claim to be protecting them.